Hey guys, I have a question for you. Have you ever been different? Have you ever felt like you don't belong somewhere or with someone? Do you ever feel alone even when you are surrounded by people? Well, if so, this story is for you. So let's start. Once upon a time in a village near a big lake, there lived a family of ducks. They had a house in the lake surrounded by cattails and water lilies where they could hide from predators. They spent most of their days looking for food in the shallow waters and the evenings sleeping with their paddling mates. One day, the mother duck laid a clutch of eggs, and soon after, it was time to hatch the little ducklings. One by one, the eggs cracked open, and cute little ducklings peeped out, swimming around their paddling pool. There were 5 ducklings in total, 4 girls and 1 boy. The boy was named Ducky. The mother duck loved all her children equally, but the other 4 ducklings often laughed at Ducky. Why? Because Ducky wasn't like the others. He was bigger than them and had gray feathers instead of yellow. Plus, Ducky didn't swim like the other ducklings. He liked to swim on his back and would spend hours rolling around in the water. "Look at Ducky," the other ducklings would say. "He swims like a beetle on its back." Hearing these hurtful words, Ducky felt sad and lonely. He tried to talk to his mother about it, but she only said, "Don't be silly. You are just different. But as you grow up, you will become more like us." Ducky believed her and continued living with the family. As the days passed, Ducky grew bigger, but instead of becoming more like his siblings, he became even more different. His body grew larger and his gray feathers turned white. The other ducklings continued to laugh at him, but Ducky didn't care anymore. He stopped talking to them and spent all his time swimming alone. He enjoyed watching the fish darting in and out of the water lilies and would often try to catch them, but he was never successful. Instead, he would end up with nothing but a mouthful of water lilies. One morning, Ducky was swimming alone as usual when he came across an old, gnarled tree at the edge of the lake. He climbed onto a branch and stared at his reflection in the water. Ducky was shocked. He didn't see a duck looking back at him. Instead, he saw a beautiful bird with long white feathers and a long neck. As he watched, the bird shook its head and adjusted its feathers. It was a swan. Ducky couldn't believe what he was seeing. He wasn't a duck at all. He was a swan. Suddenly, Ducky remembered the words his mother had spoken to him. "You are just different. As you grow up, you will become more like us." She had meant that he would become more like the swans, not the ducks. But how could he tell if the others were his real family? And where were they now? Overwhelmed with questions, Ducky flew away from the lake. He flew over fields, hills, and rivers until he came across a large flock of swans. They were swimming in a wide, slow-flowing river and preening their feathers. Ducky hesitated before calling out to them, "Excuse me, do you know who my parents are?" The swans looked at each other and shook their heads. "We are sorry, little one, but we don't know your parents. Where did you come from?" asked one of the female swans. Ducky explained how he grew up with a family of ducks and told them about his 4 sisters. The swans listened patiently to his story, and when he finished, one of the male swans swam closer to Ducky. "Little one, you may not be related to us by blood, but since you are a swan, you are welcome to join our family." Ducky was overjoyed to hear this. He joined the swans and began swimming alongside them. He was finally with his own kind and no longer felt different or alone. The swans taught Ducky everything about being a swan, from how to dive for fish to how to build a nest. Ducky learned quickly and became an expert at catching fish. He could dive deep into the water and come up with a fish in his mouth in no time. The swans were impressed with how quickly Ducky learned and accepted him as one of their own. Ducky was so happy to have found his real family that he decided to take his 4 sisters to meet them too. He flew back to the lake where he had grown up and told his sisters about the swans. "I am not your brother," he said, "and you aren't my sisters. We are just paddling mates." The 4 sisters were shocked to hear this. They couldn't believe that their brother was actually a swan. "But what about our mother?" one of them asked. "Where will she go?" Ducky thought for a moment. "I'm sure she will be sad when she finds out. But we can't stay here anymore. This is not our home." The four sisters looked at each other and knew that Ducky was right. They said goodbye to their mother and followed Ducky to the river where the other swans were waiting for them. When the mother duck saw her children leaving her, she felt sad and lonely. She had never known that they weren't her real children. She had loved them as her own and would miss them dearly. However, she knew that they had to leave if they wanted to be with their real family. So she nodded her head and watched as they flew away. The mother duck spent the rest of her days with the other ducks, telling them stories about her children and how they had left to find their real family. The other ducks would listen intently to her stories and couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness for her. They knew that she had done the right thing by letting her children go, but they also knew that she must have felt terrible doing it. Meanwhile, Ducky and his sisters lived happily ever after with the swans. They traveled from lake to lake, eating delicious fish and swimming in the warm waters. They would often stop and preen their feathers together, and Ducky would tell his sisters stories about his childhood with the ducks. The four sisters would listen intently to his stories and couldn't help but feel grateful that they had such a brave brother who had led them to their real family. As time went on, Ducky grew to become a strong and handsome swan. His white feathers shone in the sunlight, and his long neck curved gracefully. The other swans admired him and often asked him to lead them on their journeys. Ducky was always happy to help and would lead the swans to the best fishing spots and the warmest parts of the lake. He had become a true leader, and his sisters were proud to call him their brother. One day, while the swans were resting on a lake, Ducky noticed a group of ducks swimming nearby. He couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia and called out to them. "Hello? I used to live with a family of ducks, and I wonder if they are still around." The ducks heard his call and swam closer to investigate. When they saw Ducky, they couldn't believe their eyes. "Is that really you, Ducky?" one of the ducks asked in disbelief. "I can't believe it's been so long since we last saw you," said another. Ducky was happy to see his old friends again and spent the afternoon catching up with them. He told them about his life with the swans and how he had found his real family. The ducks listened intently to his stories and couldn't help but feel a sense of pride for their old friend. At the end of the day, when it was time for the swans to fly away, the ducks gathered on the shore to say goodbye. "It was great seeing you again, Ducky," said one of the ducks. "Yes, take care of yourself," said another. Ducky waved his wings and flew away with his family. He knew that he had made the right decision by leaving the ducks and joining the swans. He had found his real family and was living a life that was true to himself. As he flew, he couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for his journey and all the lessons he had learned along the way. And that, my friends, is the story of the Ugly Duckling. What did you think of the story? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button so that I know to make more videos like this for you. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more fun and exciting content. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.